Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. All right, well, 2022 is going to be a critical year for America. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, along with their nearly 2 million members. The fight to stop out-of-control spending in the president's Build Back Better scheme is far from over, and Congress is plotting more legislation that could hurt our seniors. The midterm elections will be a battle for freedom versus socialism. Unlike liberal groups, AMAC is America's conservative, action-oriented 50-plus organization fighting hard every day here in Washington and across the nation for our seniors. So I'm urging you to choose AMAC now. You will receive all of the great membership benefits, including AMAC discounts on hotels, travels, and restaurants, and your membership will support your conservative values. So go to amac.us/Ellis. That's amac.us/ELLIS to become an AMAC member now.
As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor, and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Welcome to another episode of the Jenna Ellis Show. I'm Jenna Ellis, and make sure that you are subscribed on Rumble, YouTube, or wherever you stream podcasts. Now, national news has kind of been covering, kind of not, this wild story out of Ohio that is really tragic. A 10-year-old girl was allegedly raped and then impregnated, had to travel to Indiana to get an abortion, even though then the Attorney General out of Ohio then said, well, that still would have been covered under Ohio law. Then we learned that the alleged offender was actually an illegal alien. So even though the Democrats have tried to prop this up as the horrific results of overturning Roe v. Wade, there is so much more to the story. And then just now recently, it has come out that apparently this illegal alien was in a relationship with the mother of the 10-year-old girl. So there is so much going on, and I think a lot more to this story. So the main reporter who has been covering this story is Megan Fox from PJ Media, and she joins me now. So Megan, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. It is an important story, and we should continue to talk about it until justice is served.
Yeah, so what is the latest? I know your last piece has actually shown that the abortionist is now being highlighted and amplified as the alleged hero of this story. I mean, what is going on here, and what are all the political entanglements?
Yeah, so the media, after using the child as a political football for a week, from July 1st until July 5th or 6th, after using her story of trauma as a political weapon against Republicans, they have now shifted their focus over the last couple of days to making Caitlin Bernard, the abortionist in this story, the actual victim. You won't believe these headlines. I have written about it on PJ Media's VIP subscriber service, but I'll give you a quick rundown. All the top stories now about the 10-year-old rape case, at least as far as a couple of days ago, was that Caitlin Bernard is making moves to sue the Attorney General Todd Rokita of Indiana for defamation, and they are just amplifying this story all over on all the big news sources: NPR, NBC, Washington Post, New York Times, Columbus Dispatch. It's all about her now. They have completely dropped the child. Me and Telemundo and one other reporter from Newsbusters, and also our reporter at Town Hall, townhall.com, which is a sister site of PJ Media. We are like the four people still digging into what happened to this child. When did it happen? What did the county services do? What did the police do? Did people act properly? Which is all I want to know now. And I'm getting shut down. We're getting shut down at every turn. We are finding out very scary details from the town hall reporting that just came out that this child, according to neighbors, was still in the home after the June 22nd report. If that's the case, Franklin County has some answering to do, and they are refusing to answer questions about when they knew about this rape and what they did for the child. And I don't know why. Why is the state of Ohio not making a public statement that the child and the other children in the home are safe? They haven't, and they won't.
Right. And so it seems like this story became a national story to highlight one issue that was in favor of the left. And then the truth of this story and the reality that maybe it's actually dereliction of duty on the part of any of the child protective services involved and some of these other agencies that should have stepped in. That's really getting shoved under the rug because the leftists want to amplify this story just for the purposes of abortion. So, what do we know about the child and the domestic relationship situation, and maybe what had even come before? I mean, she was obviously impregnated from her mother's boyfriend. It seems to be the situation here, and so that probably wasn't the first time that there's been some kind of domestic abuse. So, do we know if anyone reported anything or what came before all of this?
What we know is that he reportedly confessed to police that he raped the child and on at least two occasions. The alleged date of the rape was back in May. Somehow that report of the rape didn't get to police until June 22nd. And the police say that the report was made by a mandated reporter, and yet that's what they told me. But they said on the stand at the arraignment, the detective said the report was made to Franklin County Child Services by the child's mother. Now, the mother, her name is Lourdes Gomez, she has told Telemundo that she did not make that report. So there's a lot of confusion as to who made the report about the child and when was this crime reported. And when the crime was reported, why did it take 21 days for the Columbus police to make an arrest? At the very least, on July 6th is when they said the child told them who the rapist was. Why did they wait 6 more days to arrest this man? It doesn't take 6 days to arrest someone with probable cause when you have not only a 10-year-old who says this is the guy who did it, but she's also pregnant and had to get an abortion. This story has so many holes in it, and the fact that they made an arrest the day after the Fox News blitz, when everyone was now amped up to, we don't believe you, we don't
Mhm.
believe this story because we can't find any evidence of it. Washington Post couldn't confirm it, Wall Street Journal couldn't confirm it, Snopes couldn't confirm it, I couldn't, nobody could confirm this story. And then suddenly there's an arrest the next day. So
Right.
there's a big problem there, because I reached out to Ohio authorities, including Columbus and Franklin County, and they said nothing. The Attorney General of Ohio says he reached out to his prosecutors, I'm assuming that includes Columbus, and was told there was nothing. Well, that was a lie. They had a report on June 22nd. We need to know now who lied to the Attorney General and why. That's what I want to know.
Yeah. And going back to the original inception of this story, I mean, I remember seeing the attorney general on Fox News and having him say, we don't have any of these reports, and this is just a story that, potentially has been fabricated. All of this, that it seemed like the left was just trying to make some kind of, wild story just to amplify their narrative about the necessity of abortion in a very limited, isolated circumstance, just to highlight their own narrative. So, how was this even public and got to the mainstream media in the first place? And then we have all of these denials, and then the next day, this guy is arrested. I mean, that also seems weird how it got to the mainstream media to begin with.
It sure does. And okay, Glenn Kessler at the Washington Post, who wrote the fact check that couldn't be corroborated. So he said, the end result was, I can't corroborate the story. He did an update after the arrest came out where he asked 3 questions, and they were very good questions. And I want to thank Glenn Kessler for asking them. One question was, should the Indianapolis Star have run a story that was based on one source?
Mm.
And I could answer that question, and that's no. They should have done the work that during that, when they were going to report that story, they should have also looked at the same time for the criminal record for the report, because we were dealing with 2 doctors, they said, who should have filed mandated reports, which meant there would be a criminal investigation. So where was that in the reporting? So that was the first question he asked. The second question was, should all of the international sources and national sources who ran with that story, who repeated it, should they have done so without doing their own investigative work? And the answer is no, they shouldn't have. That you should always do your own questioning and not just repeat things from publications. And I'm so disappointed in the state of journalism. And now the Columbus Dispatch wants to take all the credit for finding out this story. And Bethany Bruner, who was the journalist, is on Twitter mocking other journalists because she's the only one who was in the courtroom on Wednesday after the arrest. I'm sorry, Bethany. No one at your paper that's owned by Gannett Corp, which also owns Indianapolis Star, no one was willing to provide corroborating details to other reporters. So how the hell would we be able to even know that there was an arraignment going on? No one was sharing information. The police said there was nothing. Bethany Bruner claims that she went on to the county records page where they post the arraignments every day. And she just happened to get lucky that on July 13th, she looked at this and saw that there was someone being arraigned for a rape of a child under the age of 13. I guess I might believe that if her paper was not associated with Gannett Corp, who owns Indianapolis Star, who had the information that they just refused to share with anyone else, to tell us that they knew this was a real story somehow. I don't believe that. I just don't. I'm sorry. I think this
Yeah,
story is full of holes.
that seems really, really unlikely and very coincidental. And even, in my own experience, having been an attorney, criminal defense and also prosecution in Colorado, what you see on the public website in terms of records is very, very minimal. I mean, you don't get to just go in and have the public documents unless you, as an outside third party, pay for it. And if she wanted to go in and, pay for all of the arraignment documents of every single person, that seems very unlikely as well. But so going back, I mean, what was the timeline here then, just so that people are clear, between the date of the alleged incident and then the traveling for the actual abortion? Because as you mentioned, and I think that is a very critical question here, why wasn't the person, the Caitlin who performed the abortion, Caitlin Bruner, who performed the abortion, a mandatory reporter? And we all knew from that point on, at least in Indiana, and then Indiana's communicating with Ohio, they should have been pretty clear from the date of the abortion.
Yeah, so that was another interesting thing about this, is that Caitlin Bernard refused to give up her reports when she was asked during the week of July 6th. So we all knew that if this thing happened, there would be these reports, that she's required to do 2 different reports in Indiana. One is a mandated report for the child abuse, and the second one would be the termination of pregnancy, a report that you have to do for an underage patient in Indiana. She was asked specifically, did she put those reports in and on what date? She refused to answer anyone's questions, including the Washington Post, about that. She would not say one way or the other whether she did it. That's what caused all the confusion. She caused it. Um, the reports were finally found by Fox 59 in Indianapolis through a FOIA request, which I put in the same request, but they didn't respond to me. They gave it to Fox, which I think is interesting. But
Mm-hmm.
the reports did exist. And they didn't come out until July 14th. So she let it roil around in the press for an entire week of people asking, did she not report this crime? Why didn't she report this crime? Her attorney comes out on the 14th, the day that the files are released to the press, and says, Caitlin Bernard did everything right. She did everything legally. Okay, great. Why didn't she tell us that when we asked her to corroborate this story back on July 6th? She could have
Right.
stopped this from the confusion from even happening. The Fox News report would never have happened if Caitlin Bernard had provided those documents or even just said, yes, I did. I put in my reports. The timeline of this makes no sense. June 22nd, the police are notified that there's a rape of a child. June 27th or 28th, we're not sure exactly what date, the child is taken to a doctor in Ohio, a child abuse specialist, probably someone through Franklin County Services, if that's what I would guess. That Ohio doctor recommended, for unknown reasons, that this child be taken to Indianapolis. But get this, whatever date that was, it was 2 days before Roe was overturned. It doesn't make sense
Mm.
that, and anyway, the Ohio law provided for this type of exception. So there's no reason for the child to be taken to Indianapolis unless the doctors did not understand the law. And I guess that's possible that they didn't
But
understand the law,
highly unlikely.
but highly unlikely, right? They probably talked to lawyers. And also, what
Yeah.
kind of doctor in that situation doesn't make the call when you're given the opportunity in the law as the doctor to have the judgment to make the call of whether this is an emergency situation that would call for, an exception? I don't understand the kind of reasoning. And because we don't have the name of the doctor, we can't ask the doctor, why didn't you just take care of this patient? Why did you make
Mhm.
this big deal and send her across state lines? Was it for the purpose of telling this story and making a big
Mhm.
political, football out of the whole thing and going after Republican governors with it, which they did in record time? I think the same day the story came out, they were asking Kristi Noem. They were, berating Governor DeWine. They were doing all sorts of things, the press, to Republicans. And then so the child then had the abortion on June 30th in Indianapolis, and Caitlin Bernard put in her reports within the 3-day timeline on July 2nd. It makes no sense why she didn't just corroborate that with the press that was asking her those questions. And now she wants to sue? She wants to sue people for defamation because she didn't answer questions? Give me a break, lady. It's not going anywhere. Your lawsuit's going nowhere, and it isn't a lawsuit. It's the press, more fake news, Jenna. They're reporting
Mhm.
that Caitlin Bernard filed a lawsuit against Attorney General Todd Rokita. She didn't. She filed a notice of tort claim, which is not a lawsuit. It is specifically not a lawsuit. You know this. You're an attorney. It is a notice that a public body might be sued, but she doesn't have to prove her claims. And there's also a
Mhm.
time limit there. So if she doesn't actually file a lawsuit within a certain amount of time, she loses the right to bring these claims at a later date,
But
right?
of course, no one will follow up on that in the mainstream media because they get the headline that they
It's the
want, which is
headline.
that the abortionist is suing the Republican, and this is, completely a political mess, and no one ever follows up on anything. And that's why all of these reports about, oh, so and so is suing so and so, you never see going back and actually the resolution of the case unless it's in the favor of the narrative of the mainstream media. And so those are those very nuanced details that good journalists, if they were trying to put forth the facts, would actually report. But of course, we don't have that instance here, and we never have that instance. And as you rightly called it, fake news. So, what do you think, Megan, is the real agenda behind this? And do we even know, who is behind this in terms of, it seems like there's a lot of coordination going on here between the doctor who's then, not reporting things or concealing things, not talking to the press, sending her all the way to Indiana, this, young child, when they could have taken care of the situation in Ohio under the law, if that was what the child and under her mother wanted to do, was actually get the abortion. All of these things. I mean, there are a lot of moral questions here, but there are a lot of fact questions here. So, who do you think is driving this narrative?
Well, I think it's very clear that Caitlin Bernard is an activist. She has been a pro-abortion, not just an abortion doctor, but an activist for many years. She's the one the media goes to. She's been in the New York Times, involved in
Hmm.
hit pieces on Donald Trump's pro-life stance. She's been interviewed all over the place, National Public Radio, Politico, on other issues when it comes to abortion. She appears to be one of the people that gets called on to do these
Hmm.
media hits for the abortion lobby. Um, and so I do believe that it's probably connected to Planned Parenthood. She is a Planned Parenthood abortionist. It would not surprise me at all if this was a network of Planned Parenthood people who saw this happening and decided this was the perfect opportunity to make a political weapon out of this story. And they did use it. They did use this child, a real victim of rape. They used a real victim to bludgeon their political opponents with. And you know what, Jenna? The reason I believed it was fake was because I couldn't believe that they would actually use a real victim, a real child to do that. I couldn't fathom it. I can't fathom that kind of cynicism that would
And
use
evil.
a child and evil. Right. So I
Yeah.
thought
But this is
this
also the
story must be
party.
fake. It must not be real. There must not actually be a victim because who would do that?
Well, I mean, but this is the same party that is literally making all of their money on the backs of aborting children and killing children. I mean, and so to use a 10-year-old in their minds is probably no different than just saying, well, we're advocating for the killing, the intentional killing of millions of babies. I mean, this is how disgusting this entire movement is. And so
And
so
they're
where
still doing it.
was
They're
and
still using
right.
her right now. They're still using her story to push their pro abortion narrative. It's like you can call them out, which we did, and then you think that they'll stop, right? You think that they will
Right.
stop doing it. But they didn't. They just shifted their focus right over to making Caitlin Bernard the abortion doctor, the big hero, and the victim of this of horrible right wing, news organizations. It's like they just never stop. They're still doing it.
Well, and so where was the connection then between, I mean, because this, this mother and this child obviously are not, well connected in any terms that we know of, at least with, the bigger leftist agenda. So would it have been then the doctor in Ohio that suddenly says, oh, hey, let's send her specifically to Caitlin Bernard, who is this talking point activist for Planned Parenthood? Is that probably the connection? Or why would they specifically have gone to this individual who has spoken out against abortion
It just feels
activism?
so planned.
Right? I mean, to think that across state lines, a mom like that would somehow, just out of all of the places she could have gone, chooses the one abortionist that Planned Parenthood uses as their vocal mouthpiece.
Yeah, come on, we caught them. Let's just be honest. We caught them. And we busted up the narrative, and that's why they're so angry, is that we did not allow them, for maybe the first time ever, we did not allow them to use one of these stories as a political weapon without the whole country going, wait a minute. Something smells bad about this. And sure enough, what did they have to do in order to fix their mistake? They had to admit to the country that an illegal alien raped a kid. Congratulations, as Ann Coulter calls them, the abortion ladies had to decide between what they love more, abortion or illegal alien rapists. And they picked abortion. And it's very, very clear that they did this. They were withholding that information. I believe. I believe that they probably had the information about who did this, and they withheld it because it wasn't good for the narrative. It wasn't good for their story they were trying to push. They don't want you to know that the illegal aliens are raping kids. Okay, they don't want you to know that. That's something that our media is actively keeping from us on many occasions. Ann Coulter's she's been cataloging it for years, writing books about it for years, about how the media refuses to tell the truth about what illegal alien criminals are doing in this country, especially to children. And so that was really what we busted up here, is that, oh, it's not really a story about not being able to get abortion access because she could have had one. This is a story about border policies and how bad they are for the children of this country and for other countries. And we still don't know, is this child a victim of sex trafficking? Was she brought here over the border like Homeland Security admits that children are being brought over the border and being trafficked into the sex trade. We don't know if she's related to those people in her house. We don't even know if the mother is her mother. We don't know anything about this, and the government is working overtime, Jenna, to keep us from knowing about it. Franklin County will not talk. Columbus police will not talk. The Ohio Attorney General at this point hasn't made any statement, and I'm a little disappointed in it, to tell you the truth. I'm disappointed in Dave Yost that he has not got to the bottom of why was this child in such terrible danger, and did his county services do what they were supposed to do. I expect Dave Yost, a Republican in Ohio, I expect him to dig into this, and I expect him to make an announcement to the public and let us know, especially the people of Columbus, that they are being protected by the agencies they pay to protect them and children from this type of crime. And so far, everybody in Ohio has shut up and they're not talking. And I don't like that. That's a bad sign, Jenna.
Absolutely, it is. And especially for Republicans. I mean, we would expect this from Democrats to say, okay, we're not going to put out any transparency. We're not going to have any information because this goes against our narrative and all of those other things. But when you have Republicans who are unwilling to go against the Democrats' narratives, that's when it's a huge problem. And you know that politics is king rather than truth and transparency. So why aren't Republicans doing more? And why are they, all focused on all these other issues instead of this story, which it seems like would be the catalyst to then blow open this whole issue of open borders, the Biden administration's failures. I mean, this seems like this story would be such a great catalyst, especially moving into the midterms, to say, look at everything that the Democrats are hiding. Where are the Republicans in this? And where are the conservative journalists, by the way? Why is it only PJ Media and Town Hall and Newsbusters who are covering this?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know the answers to that question, but I will tell you that I'm very disappointed so far that I have not heard from Republicans in Ohio who are going to be outspoken about this. Now, maybe they're digging into it too, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it as well. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But
Well, let's say something.
I'm saying right now, they better come out and say something. They better come out and say, we have looked into it. The children were removed. They were taken care of. Because at this point, I don't think so. In the town hall report that just came out, said the neighbors corroborated with town hall that the children were still in the home. That is outrageous. If that is
Wow.
true, look, I cover CPS stories all the time and children's services. They take kids from parents for nothing. They take kids
Yeah.
from parents for dirty dishes in the sink, for, absolutely ridiculous reasons. When you have a raped 10-year-old who is pregnant, that is evidence of a severe and heinous crime. That child should automatically be removed, and any other children from that home, and the mother should be investigated too.
Mm-hmm.
Until an investigation is complete, those children should be nowhere near that home. It is no surprise
Absolutely.
to me if county services failed to do that, because they regularly let children fall through the cracks. And is it because this child is not a legal citizen that she fell through the cracks? That's another question that should be asked, because that's no excuse either. I'm sorry, but
Mm-hmm.
I expect these agencies who get massive amounts of tax dollars and federal dollars, I expect them to do their job.
Absolutely. And uphold the law. I mean, this is exactly what President Trump always said about law and order and making sure that we actually enforce the laws and the criminal laws that we still have. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's someone who is here legally or not. And if this was, a woman who was over the age of 18 and there was, a rape that was involved, there would be an automatic protective order and there would be an automatic separation until the resolution of the case. And so the fact that you still have these children and especially this victim living in the home, and we don't know the mom's role and involvement. Alleged mom at this point, like you said, we don't even know if
We don't
that's
even know.
actually accurate. That's disturbing on so many
And they
levels. And
won't
so,
even answer if she's being investigated either. So they keep saying that they can't comment based on Ohio law. Look, if there are any
well,
Ohio legislators out there listening to this, you contact me if you want to see what the response was from Franklin County and Columbus Police. Whatever law they are citing, if that is true, that you have codified into law that they can withhold and be secretive about what the county offices did and when they did it, you need to get rid of that law. It's a bad law. It's a very bad law. We should not ever consent to our government being allowed by law to conceal their actions in a case like this from the public. That's insane. It's insane.
mhm.
And I'm from Illinois. in Chicago, and there was a heinous case there of A.J. Frund, who was a little boy who was murdered by his parents. And within days, the Chicago Tribune had the entire case file, where they went over how DCFS was involved in this family and knew about this crime and knew about the abuse for months and months and months and never did anything about it. Now, how come the Chicago Tribune can get a hold of those files, but we can't get a hold of these files in Ohio because of privacy for the children? At this
Mhm.
point, the that privacy for the children is far less important than transparency to the public, who needs to know if these agencies are doing their job and if they're protecting kids. Nobody's trying to dox these kids. We want to know
Right.
if these kids were taken care of. We want to know if the county services knew about this crime and ignored it and left children in danger. That's what we want to know.
Mhm. And you know that if the narrative were helpful to the Democrats and to the progressive Republican abortion activists, if that case file was helpful, then New York Times, CNN, everybody else, Washington Post would already have had it, and this would be splashed all over. Nobody would have cared about privacy or any of these other objections. They would have had it immediately because someone would have leaked it to them or openly given it to them. So it's only when it doesn't fit their narrative that then the truth is concealed from the public. So I can imagine the people who are all listening to this and who have been following this story are really, really outraged at the Democrats, the Republicans, and also the mainstream media. I mean, all of the usual suspects here. And so, what can individual people who maybe aren't investigative reporters like you, how can they help this situation and encourage investigative journalism? Maybe support PJ Media, contact their local legislators. I mean, what is the action item that they can do so that we're not just sitting here feeling like we're watching all of this happen and have no control over our own government and our own systems?
I would say, first of all, contact Attorney General Yost, send him emails, flood him with emails telling him that we deserve to know what happened to this child. Because according to the law, the Attorney General has the right to ask for that case file from the county services, and he has the right to investigate it himself, and he has the right to review what they did. So he needs to do that immediately, and the public needs to encourage him to do so. We want to know what happened in this case. We want to know that our government agencies are standing up to it. PJmedia.com has a VIP subscription service, which is great because it keeps us from the big tech censors who are, they're always constantly doing baloney fact checks on our work, and keeping it from being trending on Facebook or anything. So if you want to join that, my promo code is FOX for a discount. I do a lot of my reporting on the subscriber side, and I am going to be following this case until the very end because I want to know what happened to this child. I feel like there's only a few of us who really care about what happened to this kid. And I've been saying it from the beginning. If this was a real story, where's the rapist? Where's the justice? And now that we have a rapist, an alleged rapist, I want to make sure that we follow this to the very end. He was indicted today or yesterday by a grand jury, and then there's going to be a status hearing on Monday. And so we're hoping to have more information by Monday about what's going on with that case, and I will be following it.
All right. Well, we'll be following right along with you. And PJ Media is a great outlet. My good friend Tyler O'Neill, I know he's now at
Yeah,
Fox,
he
but
went to Fox. We
he was,
lost him.
yeah, unfortunately, but he was a great reporter there for years. I followed PJ Media for a long, long time. Follow your work there, and look forward to having you on for another update. And we'll be following this case. And I hope that everyone who can, tweet and retweet these articles, put this out, and call the Attorney General, Yost. I mean, do all of the things that concerned citizens should be engaged in with our government and our press to hopefully put pressure on this case to actually have a resolution and transparency. So, Megan Fox, I really appreciate your work. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. And as you get updates, I'll look forward to having you back on for those. So, thank you so
Thanks,
much for
Jenna.
caring about the truth here.
Thank you.
Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And when and we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. MyPillow is having their biggest sheet sale of the year. You all have helped build MyPillow into the amazing company that it is today. Now, Mike Lindell, the inventor and CEO, wants to give back exclusively to you, his listeners. The Percale bed sheet set is available in a variety of colors and sizes, and they are all on sale. So, for example, the queen size is regularly priced at $89.98, but is now only $39.98 with our listener promo code Jenna, Jenna. So order now, because when they're gone, they're gone. The Percale bed sheets are breathable and have a cool and crisp feel. These come with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee, so don't miss out on this incredible offer. There's a limited supply, so be sure to order now. You can call 1-800-564-8475 and use the promo code Jenna, or go to mypillow.com/Jenna. You can click on the radio listeners square and use the promo code Jenna. That's Jenna. Thank you so much to all of Mike Lindell's listeners and listeners of this podcast for making sure to support MyPillow and using our exclusive listener promo code Jenna. That's Jenna.